Hi guys, my name is Jessica Edwards. I have chose the case number 7.2, Groups Debate Cost of Educating Illegal Immigrant Children by Suzanne Gamboa. The case dates from an anti-immigrant group that Texas spends $1.3 billion a year educating school-age children who are legally in the country, but the Texas Education Agency says that it has no way to determine that cost. A report from the Federation for American Immigration Reform says the country spent $7.4 billion a year educating school-age illegal immigrant children. A Texas Education Agency spokeswoman, Suzanne Middlebrook, says that the state doesn't collect information on illegal immigrant children because school districts cannot require children to submit information that they are legally in the country. The research director for the Center for Immigration Studies, which is a group that supports immigration limits, agrees that educating illegal immigrant school children is costing billions, but he disagrees that not letting them into public education is the solution. The director says that administratively it requires school districts to identify those kids, and that's a huge challenge. It would also require politically a willingness to kick these kids out of school or tell that their parents have got to pay. Children are sympathetic population, so it's not going to happen. In 1982, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Pyler v. Doe that undocumented children and young adults have the same right to attend public primary and secondary schools as do U.S. citizens and permanent residents. As a result of this, public schools may not 1. Deny a student enrollment based on undocumented status, 2. Require different procedures to determine a student's residency, engage in any activities that may discourage a student from enrolling, that was 3. 4. Require students or their parents to document their immigrant status, 5. Ask questions that may expose a student's immigration status, and 6. Require a student's social security number for enrollment purposes. Complaints about immigration deteriorating the level of education in the U.S. can be stemmed from many factors that the immigrants themselves cannot control. Immigrant families who are not affluent have a tendency to send their children to violent-laden schools because of their proximity to their own shady neighborhoods. Therefore, these children are more exposed to violence, low-quality education, gang-infested neighborhoods, and the like. These children are more likely to be single mothers, not finish a degree, and to receive an inferior education that will not help them move up in society. Immigrants tend to speak their native language in their homes, and for the first few years, immigrants stick to people of the same culture and race to deal with the culture shock. Children tend to mimic their parents, and therefore their English language skills may not be up to par, and this dictates their entire development into finding jobs and moving ahead in U.S. society. The highest education they can attain is a high school education or community college degree. Four-year colleges and universities ask for Social Security numbers for financial aid, and with its high price, a college education is well out of reach for these immigrants. They will never live their dream and hopes despite their motivation and optimism because of the fact that their family decided to take them to the U.S. illegally. Not because their own actions have broken the law, not because they did poorly in school, not because they are incompetent. Their only fault was being born into a family that decided to come into the U.S. illegally. They cannot get jobs, they cannot apply for scholarships, they cannot go out of the country. They are trapped. With no hope of better future, these children resort to expressing their frustrations through violence, graffiti, drugs, and other law-breaking endeavors. It is a never-ending cycle of frustration and anger, a cycle that is more likely to continue. The moral issue at stake in this case is that the United States is educating illegal immigrants and using U.S. dollars to do so. Illegal immigration is a big subject right now with our president, with immigrants trying to come over to the United States. Ethical realism is the best professional ethic to describe this case. Ethical realism in ethics is the belief that nothing is objectively right or wrong, and it differs from culture to culture. This case and this subject are so touchy. It just depends on how a person feels about this subject. I don't know if the subject of illegal immigrants coming into the United States will ever get resolved, or educating illegal immigrants probably won't either. I think the only way to absolutely resolve these issues to make sure that all people coming into the United States are legal.